The $1 mystery container, the auction yard, was quiet. Only the wind howled through the open desert moon, and the scent of rust and old metal filled the air. Scavengers stood in a line, waiting for the next item to be revealed. Jace Renner stood among them. His boots were worn, his jacket was torn, and his pockets? Completely empty except for one single galactic dollar. He had no business being there. Most items at the Blackridge auction sold for hundreds of credits, but he had come out of curiosity, ... Or maybe just boredom. Next item. The auctioneer shouted, slamming a button. A large old space container rolled out on rusty wheels. It was gray, scratched, and had no markings. Just a blinking red light on one corner and a strange dent in the side. Found floating near a junk belt. Contents unknown. Might be scrap, might be treasure. The auctioneer smirked. Starting bid. 1 credit. Everyone laughed. Seriously? That thing's garbage. Probably full of moldy food. No thanks. I'm not buying a mystery box. The auctioneer looked around. No hands raised. Jace shrugged. He raised his hand. 1 credit, he said, voice dry. Sold. To the broke kid in the back. The auctioneer laughed. Jace sighed. He wasn't sure if he had just made the best deal of his life, or the dumbest dot with help from an old loader bot. Jace dragged the container back to his tiny workshop near the scrapyard. He didn't own much. Just a broken-down hoverbike, a cot, and a table filled with tools that barely worked. Circled the container, inspecting it. There was no lock, no control panel, just that single blinking red light. He tapped on it, nothing. He used his wrench to pop open a side panel. Steam hissed out suddenly, and a strange blue mist flowed from inside. It smelled sweet, almost like flowers. Then came a soft mechanical voice. Cryostatus, disengaging. Power levels low. Jace jumped back. What the? The side of the container slowly creaked open. Inside, the glow of soft blue light revealed something impossible. 7 tall capsules stood in a perfect row. Each one was frosted over, filled with cold vapor. Inside each pod, a female alien lay sleeping. Jace stared, mouth open. They were unlike anything he had ever seen. One girl had glowing green markings on her cheeks, like vines. Another had 4 slender arms. One had shimmering silver hair that floated inside her pod like it was underwater. Another had long feathered wings tucked behind her back, and then the one in the center. Her skin was pale violet, and her lips were slightly parted. Her eyes were closed, but even sleeping. Her face looked peaceful, beautiful. A small tag above her pod blinked. Subject number 3. Arilla. Class. Unknown. Status. Secure. Jace didn't know whether to call the police, a scientist, or run. He stepped closer. His breath fogged on the glass dot. Suddenly dash beep, beep, beep. A pod blinked red. Cryo restart failure. Waking process initiated. Countdown. 60 seconds. Jace's heart nearly stopped. Oh no. Oh no, she's waking up. He looked around. He had no weapons. No translator. No plan. He stared at the pod marked Erla as the countdown reached 10, 9, 8. The mist grew thick. Her fingers twitched. The glass surface began to slide open. 3, 2, 1. With a soft hiss, the pod door released. Erla gasped in a deep breath, then coughed violently. She blinked her silver eyes and stared right at him. J.A. froze. Hi? She opened her mouth, confused, and said something in a language she didn't understand. Her voice was soft, musical, and clearly scared. Erla stepped forward weakly. Her knees shook. She fell. Jace caught her just before she hit the ground. Her body was freezing cold. Her skin shimmered slightly under the light. It's okay. Jace said slowly, trying to calm her. You're safe. I found you. She looked up, confused. Her eyes filled with tears. Behind her, the rest of the pods began blinking. Cryostability failure. Waking process starting. 60 seconds. Jace looked at them, then back at the girl in his arms. What the hell did I just buy? Alien beauties. Awakened Erla's skin was still cold. Her violet fingers gripped Jace's shirt weakly as he carried her inside the workshop. He laid her on his cot and wrapped a blanket over her trembling body. Outside, the container blinked with strange red lights. Jace kept looking over his shoulder, heart pounding. The other 6 pods were about to open, and he had no idea who or what would step out. He poured warm water into a metal cup and brought it to her lips. She looked at him, cautious but calm. Her glowing silver eyes scanned his face, then the cup. Slowly she drank. Easy now, Jace whispered, even though he knew she couldn't understand him. You're gonna be okay. I think. Erla spoke again. Her language was strange. Soft, with humming sounds and clicks. She pointed at her throat and winced. Then, at the pod she came from. Jace nodded, pretending to understand. But deep inside, he was asking himself, who are these girls? Why were they frozen? And who the hell shipped them in a junk crate for $1? Then a sharp hissing sound came from the container. Jace rushed outside. The remaining 6 pods were unlocking. Blue mist spilled onto the ground, swirling like smoke. The air smelled like flowers and fire mixed together. One by one, the pods opened. Jace held his breath. The second girl stepped out first. She was tall, with soft pink skin and black tattoos all over her arms. Her hair looked like braided crystals. She looked straight at Jace and spoke something. Sharp and fast, he raised both hands in peace. Hey, no trouble. I'm the guy who saved you. Sort of. Behind her, a third alien girl stepped out. She had tiny horns on her forehead and 4 glowing eyes. She looked around in fear, then darted behind the pink girl like a scared child. The fourth was covered in blue feathers, like a bird. Her wings folded tightly against her back as she stretched for the first time in years. The fifth had skin like polished stone. Her eyes glowed gold, and she moved like a warrior. The 6th floated. She didn't even walk. Her long green hair drifted, like seaweed in water, and her feet never touched the ground. And finally, the 7th girl stepped out. She looked the most human. Except for the long tail that curled behind her legs and the feline eyes that blinked slowly, all of them stood together in the mist, looking lost. And all of them stared at JAC. He suddenly felt very, very small. Erla appeared beside him. She pointed at herself, then the others, and said a word carefully. Sethana. Jace blinked. Sethana. She nodded. Then she pointed at him. Oh, man. He gave a weak smile. Yeah, human. My name's Jace. She tried to say it. Jesh. Close. Enough. Jace looked at the group of 7. They were all watching him, some with fear, others with curiosity. One was already poking at his old hoverbike, sniffing it like it was food. I think I'm going crazy, Jace mumbled. I bought a space crate and got a house full of alien girls instead. Suddenly, the container beeped again. Warning. Tracker signal active. Jace's blood turned cold. Oh no. He ran to the panel. A small transmitter was flashing red dots. Someone was coming. Someone knew the container had been opened. Someone who maybe wanted these girls back. Jace yanked the tracker out and smashed it under his boot. He turned to Erla. We need to move, now. People are going to come looking. She stared at him for a second, then looked at the other girls. She spoke quickly in her language firm, commanding. The girls nodded. Even the shy one with 4 eyes followed her lead. Erla stepped close to Jace. She touched his chest with a gentle hand and said slowly, Protector? Jace blinked. Protector? She nodded again, then repeated, Protector, Jesh. Outside. The dusty workshop, far above the moon's surface. A small bounty ship had just picked up a signal. Inside, a scarred alien bounty hunter leaned back in his chair. His eyes narrowed. So, someone opened it, he growled. He loaded his plasma. Rifle cracked his neck and punched in the coordinates. Time to collect what was stolen. Galactic trouble knocks the desert moon was silent again, but something dangerous was flying closer. Sleek bounty ship cut through space like a blade. Its surface was black, built to avoid scanners. Inside, Krivak's a tall lizard-like bounty. Hunter, with scars across his face, watched the glowing map. He tapped a red dot on the screen. Target found. Human signature. Unregistered. He grinned, showing sharp teeth. Poor fool doesn't even know what he's holding. Back on the ground, Jace was doing his best to stay calm, but it wasn't easy. 7 alien girls were now sitting in his workshop, staring at him with different expressions. Some looked curious. Others looked like they wanted to escape. And the stone-skinned warrior girl kept tapping his tools, clearly unimpressed. Jace scratched his head. I don't even have food for 8 people. I mean, people? He checked the container again, hoping to find answers. At the back was a sealed box. He pried it open and found 7 translator chips. Carefully, he handed them out. Arla took one and hesitated. What is this? Jace nearly jumped. You understand me? The device translates your speech, she said slowly, trying to form words. The others inserted theirs one by one. Now the room filled with voices. Where are we? Why is this place so dirty? Is he the one who freed us? Why does this food smell like rust? Jace raised his hands. Okay, one at a time. Arla stood up, weak, but steady. You are Jace. You found our prison. Yes? I bought it, he said, for 1 credit. That made the girls pause. One of them, the feathered girl with wings, actually laughed. 1 credit for us? We were worth millions, the stone-skinned girl muttered bitterly. And now we belong to a junkyard human. We belong. I don't own you. Jace snapped. You're free. I didn't know what was in that thing. I just didn't want to leave it behind. The room went quiet. Arla tilted her head. You freed us without knowing who we were? I'm not the type who leaves people to rot in a box. The winged girl smiled faintly, but then the door. Buzz.bzzd.jace single quotes as blood froze. He grabbed his old blaster from under the workbench. Stay inside. He walked slowly to the door, heart pounding. He opened it just a crack. A tall figure in black armor stood outside. I'm looking for a stolen container, the voice said coldly. Came from Sector VX9. We tracked it here. Jace forced a smile. Sorry, you're too late. I sold all my junk yesterday. The figure stepped forward and shoved the door open, wide. It was Krivak's. Then maybe you won't mind if I look around? He growled. Jace stood firm. This is private property. Krivak scanned the room, then glanced behind Jace's shoulder, just in time to see the horned girl peek out. Scared? Well, Krivak grinned. Found them. He raised his gun. Jace didn't think. He fired. The shot hit Krivak's shoulder, making him stumble back. Inside the workshop, the alien girls grabbed anything they could. Metal bars, sharp tools, old scrap weapons. Krivak roared and charged inside, and that's when Arla's collar sparked and shattered. The device holding back her power broke. Her eyes glowed silver. She raised her hand, and with a flash of energy, a wave of force threw Krivak across the room, slamming him into the wall. Jace stared in shock. What the hell was that? Arla was breathing hard. My abilities. I couldn't use them before. Krivak groaned on the floor. Armor cracked. The stone-skinned girl walked over and lifted him by the throat. You tried to sell us like pets. Now we show you what. We are... No, wait, Jay said. Don't kill him. She frowned. Why? Because if he doesn't report back, someone worse will come. They all looked at Jace. For a human with no weapons, no ship, and no rank, his words carried strange weight. Arla nodded slowly. You were right. Jace looked at Krivak. You tell whoever sent you? These girls are under human protection now. Krivak spat blood. You're dead, human. The galaxy doesn't care about you. Maybe not, Jay said. But I care about them. Later that night, The girls watched Jace as he bandaged his hand. They sat in a circle, eating strange tasting. Soup he made from old rations. The feathered one whispered, "Why is he like this?" The horned girl answered softly, "Because he's not like the others." Erla stared at the stars through the broken roof and said to herself, "Maybe. This human is the reason we woke up." Secrets of the Sleeping Beauties. The sky above the scrapyard workshop was filled with stars, but inside, it felt like another galaxy altogether. The 7 alien girls sat around Jace's old work table, each one silent, each one watching him with different eyes, some curious, some cautious, some ... grateful. Jace stirred a pot of thick stew with a rusty spoon. "It's not great," he muttered, "but it's warm." He handed out bowls. One girl sniffed it. Another poked at it with a piece of scrap metal. Erla was the first to try a spoonful. She smiled softly. "It's better than cryosleep." That made the others giggle. Jay sat down, exhausted. His arm still ached from the fight with Krivax, and his mind buzzed with questions. He finally asked the one that had been burning in his head for hours, "Who are you?" "Really?" Erla looked at the others. They nodded. It was time. She stood, placed a small crystal in the center of the table. It pulsed with light. "This is a memory shard," she said. "I'll show you." The light expanded into a small floating image, a grand alien city made of crystal towers, floating mountains, glowing rivers. It looked like something from a dream. "We come from the world of Thalira, once a peaceful empire," Erla said. "But the Galactic Council feared us. Our kind was different." She looked around the group. Each of us was born with gifts. Towers. She pointed at the girl with wings. "Soria, she can control wind." She nodded toward the feather-haired girl. "Lumia, she sings to beasts." She touched the hand of the stone-skinned warrior. "Tal, stronger than any known race." She pointed at the one with green hair. "Mivra, she moves without gravity." Then the shy horned girl. "Bel, she sees thoughts." And me, Erla paused. "I see energy. I can destroy. Or heal. That's why they feared me most." Jace blinked. "And the collars were blocking your powers?" Erla nodded. "The collars were designed to control us. We were tricked into sleep, loaded into that container, and sold like stolen. Art." She looked away. "We were supposed to sleep forever." But then, Lumia said, "You opened the box." Jace looked overwhelmed. "I thought I was buying, maybe spare parts." "You bought the future," Val whispered. Her voice was soft but full of something deeper. Jace rubbed his forehead. "So, now what? I'm just a scavenger. I live in a broken shack on a forgotten moon. What can I even do?" "You gave us freedom," said Tal, standing tall. "That is something even kings couldn't do." Erla walked up to him and placed her hand on his chest again. "In our history," she said, "there is an old prophecy about 7 stars who fall and are found by a man with no crown, no army, no bloodline." She looked into his eyes. "A human." Jace chuckled nervously. "Oh, okay, now you're making me sound like some chosen hero." Erla didn't laugh. Neither did anyone else. That silence felt heavy. And a beeping sound broke the moment. A signal blinked from the container again, but this one was different. A map, coordinates, a planet's symbol flashing. Jace stared at it. "What's that?" Erla's face turned serious. "That is our home. Thalira is still there." She shook her head. "No, but the place showing on this map. That's where the last Thalirian archive was hidden. If it still exists, it might hold the key to restoring our race. But someone sent this," Lumia added. "That means someone else knows we're awake," Jace said. "Then we leave, now." Tal frowned. "In what, your broken hover bike?" "Not the bike," Jace said. "The ship in the scrapyard. It's buried under junk, but been working on it for years." Erla raised an eyebrow. "Does it fly?" "Not yet," he said. "But with 7 alien girls who can float, fight, and fix, it just might." The group looked at each other, then at him. Erla finally smiled. "Then let's fix it. Together." That night, Jace walked outside to get fresh air. He looked up at the stars again, wondering if fate really did have a plan. Behind him, Erla stood quietly. You're not what we expected, she said. I get that a lot, Jace replied. You don't have power, or rank, or even clean socks. She teased gently. He grinned. You noticed, but you saved us, she said, stepping closer. You didn't need a reason. You just did it. Jace nodded. Maybe you were frozen for a reason? And maybe, Erla whispered, you were born for one. The human and his unlikely family at sunrise. The scrapyard woke with new life. Metal clanged. Sparks flew. Wires hissed with power dot, and in the middle of it all stood Jace covered in grease, holding a broken fusion coil, and yelling, No, no, no. That goes in the coolant chamber, not the food eater. Feathered winged Saria blinked, holding her glowing part above her head. Oh, I thought it was a snack maker. Jace groaned, wiping sweat from his brow. This is gonna take forever. The half-buried ship before them was his oldest secret project. He had pulled it from a canyon crash years ago. It was missing wings, had no weapons, and one of the landing legs was literally a chair. But it was his dot, and now it was theirs. Erla floated above the engine bay, her glowing hands pushing energy into the core. Power cell is responding. She called .TAHL. The stone-skinned warrior yanked off a rusted panel with her bare hands. Hull needs replacement. I'll reinforce it with scrap titanium. Even shy little Vel, the horned girl, was helping. Her telepathy allowed her to feel where damaged wires were hidden. They weren't just working. They were building something together. Later, as the sun began to dip below the desert hills, Jace sat on the roof of his shack, drinking from a cracked canteen. Erla joined him, quiet as ever. He didn't look at her when he asked, Why do I feel like this is the first time I've had people? She tilted her head. You've never had a crew? I've never had anyone. He said, No family? No friends who stuck around. Just me, scrap, and broken dreams. Erla watched the sky, her silver eyes glowing faintly. We lost everything, she said softly. Our planet. Our people, even our real names. Jace blinked. Wait, those aren't your names. They're code names given by slavers, she admitted. Our real names were locked away to protect us. Only when we are truly safe will they return. There was a pause. Then she added, but maybe with you we'll find them again. Inside the ship's hull, the girls were already making it. Feel like home? Saria was hanging bright feathers over her sleeping area. Lumia, the beast singer, found a desert rat and was now training it like a pet. Tall sat sharpening metal scraps into weapons. Vel was quietly humming, her fingers tracing memory patterns into the walls. Jace walked through the ship's corridor and realized something strange. It didn't feel like a wreck anymore. It felt alive, form, full of noise. Full of them. By nightfall. They ran a test. Erla connected her power into the main drive. Jace flipped the ignition. The lights blinked once, twice. Vroom. The engine hummed. The ship shook slightly, but it stayed together. They all cheered. Vel even laughed. A sound like wind chimes. Jace collapsed in the captain's chair. She lives? You're not a bad builder for a human, Tal muttered with a half smile. But we still need a name, Saria said. Ships deserve names. Everyone looked around. Erla stepped forward. How about Second Dawn? She said. They all nodded. It felt right. But just as they shared that peaceful moment, a red warning signal flashed across the control panel. Incoming transmission. Encrypted frequency. Jace clicked it open. A robotic voice played. To the owner of stolen bioassets. Return property now and no harm will come to you. You have 48 standard hours. After that, you will be hunted without mercy. The room turned cold. They found us again, Tal growled. This time, they sent a real threat. Erla whispered. Jace stood. Then we don't wait. We take the ship and leave. Lumia looked scared. But where? Jace pointed to the glowing star map still floating on the table, the one Erla activated days ago. That archive, that old Tallarine world. We go, there. But the council will chase us, Surya warned. Jace nodded. Then let them. He looked around the ship at the alien girls who had somehow become his crew. Because this time, we fight together? Arola smiled. You're not just our protector anymore, Jace. You're part of us now. Outside, the stars burned silently. And somewhere far away, powerful forces were already watching. Preparing? But they didn't understand something. They thought the 7 alien girls were the threat. They didn't realize the real danger was the human who refused to give them. Betrayal and escape praying was rare on the desert moon, but that night, a poured thunder rolled above the scrapyard as the old launch pad lit up with sparks and glowing wires. The second dawn Jace's patched-together ship hummed softly, ready. For flight. Inside, tension filled the air. Arola checked the star map again. The coordinates to the lost Dalarian archive glowed on the screen. Once we leave, she said, there's no turning back. Tal nodded, sharpening her blade. Let them chase us. We owe them nothing. Lumia fed her dessert rat one last berry and smiled. I've named him Fluff. Surya raised an eyebrow. He bit Jace yesterday. I forgave him. Jace called from the engine room. I also bled a little. They laughed, a rare and warm sound. For a moment, it felt like family again, but not everyone was smiling. Vel, the shy-horned girl, sat alone in the dark storage room. Her fingers trembled. As she held a tiny black communicator, the one she'd secretly hidden in her clothes. Message blinked. Confirm location. Reward. Safe return to homeworld. Vel bit her lip. They promised she'd go free. They said she didn't belong with the others. That her powers were too unstable. Too dangerous. Too misunderstood. Her heart pounded. She looked at the crew, laughing in the other room, her new sisters. Jace? Tears filled her eyes. She pressed send. The betrayal didn't take long to reach them. A sudden whining alarm screamed from the ship's sensors. Multiple ships incoming. Jace yelled. Fast. Armed. Definitely not friendly. Arola rushed to the window. 3 bounty-class fighters. Council symbols on the wings. How did they find us? Tal shouted. JAC. E spun the control chair. Doesn't matter. Everyone. Strap in. Engines flared. The second dawn shook. But then, boom. One of the landing thrusters exploded. The ship tilted sideways. Sparks shot from the control panel. We're grounded. Arola hissed. They've jammed our liftoff, Surya added. Outside, council troops began landing. Black armor, plasma rifles. Trained hunters. And at the front stood Krivax again, heavily. Armed and smiling wide. I warned you, human. His voice echoed through the outer speakers. Give them up, or burn with them? Inside the ship, chaos unfolded. We can't fight them all, Jace said, breath ragged. Arola's eyes narrowed. We don't have to. We just need time. For what? Lumi asked. For me. Jace said to restart the backup thrusters manually. Tal stepped forward. You'll never make it outside with them firing at us. Jace smiled faintly. Yeah, but I'm fast when I'm scared. Before anyone could stop him, he grabbed his toolkit and ran out the back ramp, straight into the storm. Blaster fire cut through the night. Sparks flew around him as he sprinted across wet sand and junk piles. He reached the power box behind the launch pad, opened it, wires fried, rain falling fast. His hands shook, fingers bleeding. Back inside, Arola closed her eyes and began charging. A protective dome around the ship, using every drop of her return power. The force field blocked most of the fire, but it wouldn't last. Where's Jace? Surya cried. Almost there. Arola whispered. I can feel his energy. Suddenly, boom. A new shockwave shook the ground. The backup thrusters roared to life. Jace screamed through the comms. Now. Take off. Go. The ship's main engines sputtered, coughed, and finally roared. The girls jumped into their stations. Surya took the co-pilot seat. Tal and Lumia defended the loading ramp. Vel just stood frozen, guilt heavy in her eyes. As They lifted off. Council soldiers opened fire. A blast hit the ramp. Jace still wasn't inside. Erla turned. I'm going to get him. She ran through the smoke. Found him crawling, leg injured. She grabbed his arm and pulled him inside as the ship blasted through the clouds. Shaking, barely holding together, Dot inside, alarms rang, but they were in the air. Dot, they were free. For now, Dot in a medbay. Jace lay on a bed, leg wrapped, bruised butt. Smiling. I told you I was fast. You're insane, Erla whispered, holding his hand. You're welcome. Later, Vel walked into his room, hand shaking. I have to tell you something, she said softly. Jace looked up. I was the one who sent the signal. Silence. I was scared, she said, crying now. They promised I'd be safe. I thought maybe I didn't belong. Jace didn't speak. He sat up slowly. Then, quietly, he said, Do you want leave? She shook her head. No, not anymore. Then prove it, he said, eyes calm. Help us finish this. Help your sisters. Vel fell to her knees and wept into his chest. Jace held her gently. Then you're still part of this crew. Far away, in the dark halls of the Galactic Council, a shadowy figure watched a screen showing Jace's face. He's just one human. Someone muttered. No, the figure replied. He's more than that now. New world. New destiny. The stars stretched like a glowing river as the second dawn drifted through deep space. Dot inside. Everything was quiet. Dot, no gunfire. No alarms. No running. Dot, just silence. Peaceful and strange. Jace stood alone on the observation deck, his injured leg wrapped in bandages. Below his feet, the ship's shield shimmered against the starlight. He stared at the small green planet approaching fast, a planet marked on the ancient Dalaran map, the last archive. He didn't know what they'd find there, but he knew one thing. They weren't the same crew that crawled out of that junkyard anymore. Hours earlier. Erla had gathered the girls in the main chamber. We are Thalarian, she said. But we are also more now. We've lived as prisoners, soldiers, sisters, and now as free people. The group listened closely. Even Vel, her betrayal now forgiven, sat beside Jace like a shadow never leaving light. We don't know what waits for us down there, Erla continued. But it may hold the truth of who we were and who we can become again. Jace stood. Then let's land and find it. The second dawn touched down on the surface of a lush, forgotten world. Tall. Silver trees glowed under twin moons. Strange flowers opened as they passed. Small flying creatures blinked like living stars. There were no signs of war, no cities, no people. Just a ruined temple carved into the mountainside. Tal stepped ahead, leading the way. She brushed aside vines and pushed open the doors with her bare hands. Inside, the walls pulsed with ancient symbols. Suddenly, the crystal in Ariela's necklace began to glow. She stepped forward. The air shimmered. A massive orb of light rose from the temple's center. The orb spoke not in a voice, but directly into their minds. 7 lost stars. 1 protector. Welcome home. Everyone froze. What is this? Whispered Lumia. This is the final record of Talira. The voice continued. Your powers, your blood, your memories. All were locked away until now. The orb turned to Jace. And you, human, you carry the spark. Jace blinked. What spark? The guardian seed. Hidden in human DNA long ago by Thalarian scientists. A last hope if the stars ever fell. You were meant to awaken them. Erla gasped. So he really is the key? The orb pulsed again. The protector is not chosen by birth, but by choice. He saw value in what others discarded. He gave without knowing. He fought without asking. That is the mark of our legacy. Tears rolled down Vel's cheeks. Jace stepped closer. So, what do we do now? Take your names back? Reclaim your true selves. The future of our kind begins again with you. One by one, the girls walked into the orb's light, and one by one, their collars broke. Their code names disappeared. Tal became Rinka, the Iron Shield. Lumia became Celia, the Song of Beasts. Saria became Varial, the Sky Blade. Vel became Elion, the seer of depths. Nivra became Talon, the Star Walker. And Arila, her real name echoed through the chamber like music Soraya. Each girl glowed brighter, stronger, reborn. When Jay stepped forward, unsure, the orb whispered only one word: heart. And that was enough. They returned to the second dawn with something new in their eyes piece. Not revenge, not fear. Just a quiet strength dot as the ship lifted off. Jace looked back at the glowing planet. Think we'll ever come back? Erla, no. Soraya stood beside him. One day, when we're ready to build. For now, she smiled. We build us. Back in the stars, rumors spread of a strange ship filled with once-forgotten beings. Of a human who had no bloodline, no title. But whose courage lit the path for a fallen race. They called him the Starburn Guardian, and they called his crew ... family.